But Bajaj Auto is the other one. The weakness continues in the month of August. The total August sales have come in with a drop of 15% at 3.41 lakh units. Nomura's estimate was 3.30 lakh units, so it's slightly better than the estimates, but it's still a steep fall. Domestic sales are down 20%. Exports are under pressure as well. Exports are down almost about 6%. So let's get the management on board. Rakesh Sharma is joining in to give us a view on what's happening. Rakesh, thanks a lot for joining in. Before I ask you about exports, what's happening in the domestic market now? Because, you know, the festive season has begun with the onset of Onam. How have the festive sales been? And given the fact that there is this deficiency of monsoon, right, in the latter half, we saw almost a 33% deficiency in the rainfall in August. Do you think that could put some pressure on the domestic sales?
Good morning, Sonia. The motorcycle industry in domestic is showing steady increase. It's not rocketing up, but after, successive quarters of double-digit decline, it sort of evened off in Q1. And what we are seeing in retail terms, it's now at about 4 to 5% growth over the same period last year. We expect that this should obviously, with the festive kicking in, should probably go up to 5 to 8%. So nothing dramatic, but it's good to be in the positive zone. Now, the character of this growth is such that it's being driven by the top half of the industry, which is slightly more than the 5 to 8%. And the bottom half is sort of almost at zero.
So what does this mean in terms of domestic sales? I mean, this time domestic sales were down 20% compared to what we saw last year. And the wholesales have come in a little above 2 lakhs. On an average, what do you think domestic sales could look like over the next couple of months?
Looking at our sales numbers, it would not be right to just compare them with last year, as it was not right to compare them with last year in Q1. Because, if you recall, we had a major supply chain issue in the first 3-4 months of last year. And therefore, you were seeing humongous growth in Q1. But last year, from August onwards, we had started to build up stock. So the right way to look at it is really the retail growth, which is very, very easily available on Vahan. Now, if you see Vahan data for this year and even for August, you will see that the motorcycle industry is growing at year to date at about 4%, and our retail growth is 19%. So actually, if you go beyond just the first page, it's a very, very robust performance by the domestic motorcycles and three-wheeler business. Very robust.
Okay, Mr. Sharma, hi, good morning. Just a quick word on the poor rains we have seen in the month of August, and the forecast for September is also pretty poor. Is that going to hurt at the margin? What's the assessment?
In terms of growth, the broader economic recovery has set in motion. And the poor rains will only dampen the growth, but I don't think it will result in a decline or anything. And that's the reason why one is saying is that the retail growth outlook is probably 5 to 8%, depending on the segment. But yes, if the monsoons had been absolutely perfect, we could have probably hoped for slightly more. However, like I said, economic recovery is now reaching the pockets of our kind of customers, and we are happy about it.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, given the strong demand of the Triumph, what kind of production ramp-up can we expect in the Triumph by the end of FY24? And what is the order backlog that you're seeing for the Triumph right now? What kind of scale-up can we expect in production?
Yes, unfortunately, there is a considerable backlog. We have over 20,000 units of bookings. And last month, which is in August, our dispatches were about 3,500 units. We're going to scale it up to about 5,000 in the coming months, and then try to see if we can go up to 7,500 in the final quarter. We are taking this step by step, but because it's not just about the production, we have also started to establish an absolutely exclusive channel for Triumph. So we started with about 14 stores in July, which has now gone up to about 25, and which will now progressively go up to 50. So the other thing is that these 20,000 bookings are only from these 15 centers. And our whole attempt is to deliver a very distinctive retail experience and ownership experience to the customer. So we are taking it step by step.
Okay.
By the way, Sonia, today, I think in about half an hour, Eicher will unveil their Bullet Refresh, which is under 2 lakh rupee bike. But we don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's a fresh pricing or something. But it's Mr. Lal is there in Chennai. I mean,
Yes,
you heard from him
yes.
yesterday. So yeah.
And he was talking about how he's not in a hurry to
On the EV
unveil
side.
his
EV
electric
side,
vehicle. Yeah, but it's coming. It's coming in 2025. So that market is also hotting up, right? The EV two-wheeler space. But Mr. Sharma, tell us about exports, because despite your assessment of things improving July onwards, it hasn't really panned out as expected. How is Nigeria doing at the moment? And has the recovery played through in its entirety? What is the expectation as we move along?
Well, it is improving. If you see, Q4 was 115,000 units. Q1 was 125,000 units on the average. And Q2 is running at about 140,000 units on the average. I mean, we never expected a rocket-like recovery. It's a very difficult situation in the overseas markets because of the macroeconomic factors, largely led by the volatility of the forex, which has led to inflation, availability of dollars for trade, etc. However, having said all that, there is a nice 5 to 10% recovery almost every quarter, both in retail terms and in shipment terms now. And I think that is the way it will go. I'm not expecting a sudden return to 200,000 within a quarter or so.
By the way, do you have any exposure, Mr. Sharma, since you brought up Africa, to Gabon, where we've seen a military coup recently?
No, we don't have any issues. And just to sort of complete Sonia's question, I'm sorry I did not respond on Nigeria. Nigeria is taking a little bit, Nigeria is improving by about 5% every month in terms of retail. And the stabilization of the currency is still an issue. Locally in Nigeria, it's still wobbly because they're attempting a very major thing, which is convergence of the street market with the bank, with the street rates with the bank rates, and having one window for foreign exchange clearance. There are major reforms, and they are taking a little longer to sort of play out. And so therefore the recovery is slightly less than expected. However, it is at about 5% per month. If I look at our retails in August, they were 5% better than in July, and so also in July.
And how has the feedback been for the new EV three-wheeler? Which markets have you been targeting for that, and what is the expectation?
Sonia, it's been an outstanding feedback, and we are glad that we sort of went back to the drawing board and sort of delayed our launch. And within the first 45 days, in registration terms, we have zoomed to a 56, 57% share. Of course, we will not be satisfied with less than 80% because we have 80% of the three-wheeler business. And now, by end of this month, from about 2 markets in August, we will be in 18 markets by October. So the ramp-up phase is going to start in September. And the reception which we have received in the first 2 markets, if that plays out, then we would be very, very delighted by that.
Sorry, I didn't get that. What is the ramp-up plans for the EV three-wheeler?
The ramp-up plan is that we will go from 2 cities to 18 cities now.
Okay. No, in terms of production?
We'll see how it goes. And our first objective is to establish the network, get the mechanics, this, that, everything trained up, etc. And because a lot of this business is actually conversion of those e-rickshaws, which were, which have proliferated because there was permits in the auto side and there were no permits on the e-rickshaw side. And they were really not a very lasting solution. So now, if you look at it nationally, nationally they constitute about 50%. So if ICE autos are 50,000 units, these e-rickshaws are 40,000 units. So I would say that over the midterm, that's the kind of business which we are shooting for.
Okay, all the best. Thanks a lot for joining in. Appreciate your thoughts here on CNBC TV18. That's Bajaj Auto talking about the way forward for the business. They're looking at about a 5 to 8% growth in the retail segment in the festive season. It's still going to be low single-digit growth, according to them. And the bottom end, that is the mass market segment, is absolutely flat, so no great growth there. Let's